Philosophy Podcast episode 2. All right, we got one in the making, 2 on its way. Everyone, make sure you stay tuned. We have more video, more content, and more news coming up as we develop and grow. So come and join us on this journey. All right. So today's podcast, we have a couple of things, Marvel, and then the majority of it's going to be like DC.
Yep.
It's going to be a DC heavy episode. Let's first start off with the comic realm. We have Wolverine, which is undoubtedly one of Marvel's most popular characters.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a new power set in the comics, which I don't know if you've heard about it. It's going to be heated adamantium claws.
Yeah, it's different. If they had to give him something different, that's not so far removed from his other powers.
It's not so far removed, but it's really unnecessary.
I agree.
They came up with an issue a couple years ago, our little miniseries, Wolverine Goes to Hell, and he had kind of heated claws there because he was possessed.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, this doesn't make any sense of why to differentiate, and I don't know if they're doing it just because there's so many Wolverine-like characters now.
I don't know. I think I'll have to wait. I'll see how they relaunch the series or how they relaunch the character. If there's some explanation for it, if it's just to give him an extra power,
He's already OP.
Yeah.
His healing factor. There's only one person's healing factor is better, and that's Deadpool. But he's been around, like according to comic lore. He's been around since the 1800s.
Yeah.
Late 1700s, early 1800s, because he was back in the Midwestern days. He was in the first colonial wars. That's already an OP power. You have the bone claws, and then you have the heightened senses, which is smelling, animal smelling, vision, and so forth. I don't think vision, but I know he can track by smelling.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just going to wait and see how they introduce the new powers. If it's something that makes sense, then sure. I don't think it's needed.
Okay, what would he use it for?
It's a good question.
Because honestly, adamantium is one of the strongest metals. They say it can cut vibranium.
Maybe they could use that as an excuse. The first thing I thought of was, is he going to start using his claws more like a lightsaber, episode 1 style, where he shoves it into a metal door and it makes the door start to melt?
Are we getting ready for a Star Wars Marvel crossover?
Well, we're probably closer to it than what you might think, given who owns all the properties. But I'm not sure. I'll have to hold my judgment for once the books come out.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I have to wait, but I just need to understand why. I mean, there is a lot of Wolverine characters now. X-23 took over the mantle,
mm-hmm.
which I really loved. Laura taking over the mantle because they have like a father-daughter relationship.
Absolutely.
And her being the Wolverine was a new take. I know a lot of people didn't like the direction Marvel went in with diversifying their characters. But
people can't hold on to the past forever. So.
No, and we need to talk about that one day. Like, when do some of these characters need to die? Not die per se, but retire or something. Because we've held on these characters, Steve Rogers, Thor. We've held on these characters for so long, and then when we change them up a little bit, everyone gets in an uproar. And now we have to change it back, and it kind of takes away from it. But
I think too many people are being short-sighted. I mean, nobody really dies in the comic books. Yeah. They're not going to take a character like Steve Rogers and throw him out and never have him come back ever again.
He can do something else besides Captain America.
Sure.
I was liking him being the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a good while.
Yeah.
Like, that was an interesting take on seeing Cap's leadership style on a more global scale instead of just a team like an Avengers.
But, yeah. I don't know. Maybe like you said, a conversation for another day. That would be a great episode.
Yeah.
We'll keep that in mind.
So Wolverine's getting new powers. We'll put that on the table and wait for it to come out, which I think the issues are from Marvel coming out now, The Hunt for Wolverine, where I think they have 3 different issues where you have 3 different teams looking for him. You have the X-Men team looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
You had the new Avengers team that he was with, which was included Iron Man, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Spider-Man looking for him. You have an issue where Daredevil's looking for him, and then you have another issue where his 3 greatest enemies are looking for him, and that's Sabretooth, Deathstrike, and Lady Deathstrike, and Draken, his son. So, more to find out in the next couple of weeks as they wrap this up and we introduce. I think it's going on along with Infinity Countdown, the Marvel's blockbuster comic event. So, we'll see. And then we have another Marvel-related event. Avengers 4 concept art has been leaked. Not leaked. I don't think anything is possibly leaked nowadays. If it's out there, it's purposely out there. They can put leaked in front of it, but we see exactly what it is.
Well, even making something seem like it's a leak it gets you enough positive PR and everything. So they're not going to let something slip that's going to make them look bad, or at least rarely does that happen.
So if you haven't watched Avengers Infinity War, the remaining heroes are in there, and we're going to have a picture on the video showing you all the remainings, but we got Black Widow, we got War Machine, we got Iron Man, we've got Gamora, which I keep forgetting Nebula. Nebula is still around. I thought she had disappeared.
It's just Nebula and Tony on Titan. They're left by themselves. I think everybody else that was with them. Spoiler alert. You probably should have seen that by now if you're not one of the people that contributed to the $2 billion that movie has made. But yeah, I think it'll be...
The rest of the heroes in the Dust Factory. You got Captain America. Looks like he's back in his... They look like they got upgraded suits.
Yep. Hulk is wearing a suit too, isn't
it? Which is a little weird seeing a full body suit on the Hulk.
A little weird, but maybe it's some sort of Stark nanotech so that they don't have to keep him in his purple stretchy pants.
We're tired of you busting out clothes every time. We're going to go ahead and give you this nanotech. And make sure, Hulk, you show up in this movie.
Right.
You did show up in the last one, but it was only for a little bit.
Well, obviously, I guess
he'll
be in there in some way. Maybe it'll do a better job of explaining why he wanted to hide. Was he really just wimping out because he got his tail whooped, or is there a better explanation? Which I hope there is a better explanation. Otherwise, it's a bit strange to go in that direction. So we'll see. But we'll.
So all the survivors are back. Thor, his new Stormbreaker hammer. We got Rocket. We got everyone that survived. So there's still a lot of theories going on what's really going to be, and we really can't jump to any conclusions until we at least see a trailer of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Because Captain Marvel is in the picture, and she is a factor. She's a major factor in some way, shape, or form, and we don't even know enough about her. We know enough about her from the comics. We don't know enough about her in this MCU universe.
Well, here's hoping that maybe we'll get even if it's just a brief glimpse or just a logo, hopefully we'll get some sort of teaser trailer at the beginning of Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not that far away, and they've already been filming for quite some time. Obviously, you're not going to see some sort of advanced post-production CGI or anything, but I think it would be fun to at least get a little hint.
But it looks like
teaser.
the Ant-Man and the Wasp does take place right after, a little bit after Civil War. So it's before Civil War, after Civil War, before Avengers 4. So somewhere in that timeline. So let's look to see what really happens. And speaking of trailers, hopefully they have something, just a little teaser trailer at San Diego Comic-Con, which is a couple weeks away. But another trailer that is out there in Europe somewhere, but not coming to the States for whatever reason, Aquaman. So, Aquaman trailer was released at a European movie festival.
About time.
I want to see it. I mean, Entertainment Weekly just came out with their pictures, and the pictures look awesome.
Definitely, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I can't imagine it being that far off if they've already started showing it. Then I know we spoke about it previously in another video, but I don't think they would wait until San Diego Comic-Con.
Well, I mean, now that we have last time we spoke on this, I was thinking it was sometime in October, but it's actually December 21st. So we got a little time for them to do a San Diego Comic Con is only a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
We're right in July. So maybe we can get that's probably the place to announce or to do a trailer for the United States. I mean,
yeah, and just public in general. Yeah, I'm sure that if they're going to wait till then, and they've already waited.
If you want to give
enough.
it to me sooner, I have no complaints. But if I'm in charge of their marketing, I'll be like, yeah, let's hold off until San Diego Comic Con. Let's make a big spectacle out of it, and also I would also say do a little teaser on Wonder Woman 2 while you're at it.
Definitely.
You've already thrown out the pics, and we've seen Chris Pine really in there, and he is a part. It looks like he's a part of the story. It wasn't a flashback or anything, so we got some questions, and you can give us a little teaser. Again, do not show the villain. Do not show Cheetah. Don't show Kristen Wiig in her Cheetah form. Leave that for much later.
And we did, as far as Aquaman is concerned, we did get our first picture this week of Black Manta, or at least the helmet.
Yeah, it looked like a prototype too.
Yeah, so I don't know, but for me, Aquaman is going to be a turning point in DC, for better or for worse. I think it's going to be for the better. But to me, this is kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Thor moment, where you start before you see the first images, you wonder, like, how is that going to translate into film?
Yeah.
How are you going to have Groot, like a tree man, on film and not make it a rocket without making it look ridiculous? Or how is Thor going to translate with the magical energy and everything from the comics into the what was a more grounded version of Marvel? You could argue that it isn't anymore, or that there's still an explanation for both, but just seeing how they
I think
get
Marvel
that look
did a very good job at explaining the unknown, which I have to give them credit for. They do their due diligence and make sure that whatever weird thing they come up with, there is a decent explanation, and you can be like, all right, I buy it. I'm eating popcorn, I can buy it. But some of the reactions for the trailer is a brighter tone that they haven't seen from DC before. So I'm looking forward to it. And it is going to be a little bit more difficult with Aquaman because he has been a pop culture punching bag for so many years.
Right. But I think they're I can't imagine, now that I've seen Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I can't imagine them doing it any other way without it being ridiculous. And to have someone who is of a Pacific Islander descent just makes so much more sense than and even if you tried to argue that they were going for more of like the Mediterranean or something, he's still not going to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. If you're straight out of the Mediterranean. So I think it's great. I'm looking forward to, as far as the visuals, just seeing how they represent Atlantis and make it look as good as what I think they can make it look.
Yeah, because we're seeing some different armors, him facing off with his half brother, Orm, so as Ocean Master, which I'm hoping he's the main villain. I really do. I don't want Black Manta to be the villain this time. I want Black Manta to hold off, be an introduction, and then really come in with the Orm and really like a fight for the throne type deal. Make it like a Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, but funny, entertaining. God, I'm asking a lot, ain't I?
We'll see. Hopefully we don't have much longer to find out.
Yeah. Next thing. So, some of you might have heard AT&T, the AT&T Time Warner merger has been approved by the federal government. A judge actually pleaded on behalf of AT&T to allow this to happen. And why I had to go to it, to the courts, is because these are two big companies, and what the federal government is supposed to do is just make sure that there are no antitrust and no monopolies being formed under their eyes that will hurt other companies in the process, as long as it's fair competition.
Right.
So AT&T, as we know, is one of the biggest telecommunication companies out there, and they've been approved, and the merger goes down June 20th, that they will be able to acquire Time Warner. Now, if you don't know who Time Warner is, that is pretty much one of the third biggest television movie studio franchises behind Walt Disney and Comcast. So, and they do have companies and properties of their own, like HBO, Warner Brothers, DC, So as you can tell, this is going to be a big shakeup for all this as they're being owned by AT&T. So I don't think they're going to do anything crass anytime soon. It's going to be, when it comes to big companies like this merging, it does take some time. Unfortunately, I feel for the people that work for like these companies that when you do go through a merger like this, it takes time, but not at that same time you're worried about your job.
Right. Like we talked about in a previous video, and whenever you have massive companies like this, or like Fox and Disney, or hopefully not Fox and Comcast mergers, you have the redundancies at a lower level, and a lot of people, and most of the times the hardest working people are the ones they're going to lose their jobs. You
kind of get like the lower tier, and then the super high tier are the ones that are affected the most. Like sometimes the people in the middle might not be as affected, but with that being said, there was a lot of shakeups in their leadership structure as that merger is going on, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that because we had Jeff Johns, who is one of my favorite comic book writers. I honestly, in 2004, he was a big reason why I got back into comics. He was writing Teen Titans. He was writing Green Lantern, and like Teen Titans was my go-to. That's what really brought me back into reading comics on a weekly basis and so forth, along with Black Panther. But Jeff Johns has always been one of my favorite writers, and he is now he has stepped down from his president and chief creative officer role, CCO role, to do a strictly writing and production deal. So he's not completely away from DC and Warner Brothers, but he's stepped down and he's really focusing on his own company. Mad Ghost Productions, I think, is one of them, and he's going to be doing an exclusive writing deal with them on comics and television, producing and film. And one of those films is going to be Green Lantern, which we're going to dive into a little bit more.
Yes.
But Jeff Johns has stepped down, and Jim Lee, another great artist and writer, has stepped in his place. Do you think that might have been because of what's going on now? Like, with this AT&T merger, again, heads was gonna shift and so forth.
Right.
I thought Jeff Johns was going to be the safest one because he knows DC's creative property. He's led them this far to the point where we're not winning in the movies. DC isn't winning in the movies yet, but the comics are surpassing Marvel storytelling. It hasn't surpassed Marvel sales, but it's getting close in the comic book realm.
I'm not sure how to interpret it. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, or if it was, if he felt that he could have more of an impact in his new role. I don't know. I think for Green Lantern fans, it's a huge plus to have somebody like that concentrating on the production of a film, and making sure that it went better than both the previous DC films and also the previous Green Lantern film.
We don't talk about that one.
No animated green suits, Ryan Reynolds. That's another thing that just time will tell. But either way, there's positive things that will come out of it. With him concentrating on something like Green Lantern, and we'll see. It doesn't mean that he hasn't influenced the people that will be taking over his previous work.
I definitely think he has actually a bigger influence as writing and producing these movies, films, and television and comics, because he's the one in control of it. Before, I think as president, he can input his thoughts, but he wasn't doing the writing. Like, now I can control it from writing, and then when you give me your thoughts as Mr. President Jim, when you give me your thoughts, I can tweak it and put it in there subtly versus me giving someone else the thoughts, and then it's not the way I wanted it to be.
Right.
So I do think he has a bigger impact in that one, and honestly, it's the right time to do it, especially with so many changes to the DC, to the Time Warner landscape itself. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, now that merger has been approved, it's most likely the whole Fox DC is going to get approved. I
would
don't
imagine.
think,
Yeah.
because this one was for even more.
Right.
So this was bigger than the Fox, money wise. This was bigger than the Fox and Disney deal.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, Comcast has thrown another bid. Originally, they threw a bid for $60 billion, all cash, no stock options. Because when Disney did theirs for 54, theirs had stock options in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, that's a smart play from a money standpoint. I don't need to spend all my money.
Right.
But let's face it, Disney stock is going to go up with this merger.
Absolutely, and I don't see Comcast really going anywhere with that merger, just because Disney has deeper pockets, and also Disney knows what it would mean to them to have a full MCU.
Honestly, I think
almost full.
I don't even think Disney's looking at the MCU. They've made their money. They're making their money. They can keep doing it, but it doesn't hurt to have it. I think they're really looking for that streaming service, because let's face it, as Netflix grows, that's a bigger threat to Disney.
Right, and if you're not familiar with this, it's Hulu. Fox owns the majority stake in Hulu, so if Disney were to buy Hulu, then you could see a situation where instead of Disney building their own streaming service from the ground up, they could either take over Hulu, buy out the other communication companies that have stock and own a portion of Hulu. So you could end up seeing Hulu as a streaming service turn into Disney streaming or whatever they're going to be calling it.
Or it could be they just gut it. They just copy and paste.
Right.
Like, hey, Hulu, you do this, and just copy the same format, and we'll have it over here at Disney, and they can have two streaming services at the same time. The biggest thing for Comcast, though, I think Comcast is trolling, because they just increased their bid to $65 billion. So I just think they're trolling to make Walmart, not Walmart, but make Walt Disney spend more money.
Possibly, yeah.
And
I don't
if
see.
if I'm the guy who's across the table, I'm like, you know what? I'm not trying to let them win that easy. I would throw a ghost bid in there just to keep making them go up. I mean, we've seen that in auctions and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know what what Comcast values, and that I know there are plenty of valuable properties, but what makes them want it even more than Disney. I know that they've gone and they've gobbled up NBC and other properties recently. Well, recently, I guess that was several years ago, but I don't know. Just from my standpoint, I think I'd like to see a world where they didn't have the merger, and Disney could just make a bid on the Marvel properties that Marvel should have never let go in the first place. Yeah. But if there has to be a merger,
Marvel had to, because they were bankrupt.
Right.
And they literally sold. They was like, you know what? We're gonna sell our most. I think originally they wanted to sell their least popular, and everyone was like, no, I don't want that. Right. I want your most popular. And at the time, it was Spider-Man, X-Men, and then after that was Fantastic Four. Avengers and everything was the least popular selling.
Right.
At the time. And Disney took it and was like, you know what, we're going to make this the best selling. And now it's the king of Marvel.
Right. So we'll keep you up to date on all of that as everything happens. But right now we'll just have to wait and see.
Yep. And speaking of AT&T, now they have DirecTV. DirecTV has started their streaming service, DirecTV Now. With them buying it, now they get another streaming service, and I think they get Skyline streaming service, which is more international, and they get the new DC focused streaming service, which is going to be DC Universe, which looks like DC Universe, and they're probably going to make this announcement in San Diego Comic-Con, but they're looking at August 20th to August 27th, which gives me enough time to save my coin up so I can get that. because we're not even, and they're looking at having all comics, all their animated services, and movies on this streaming service. So we're not just getting what people have been begging for, which is Justice League, or Young Justice, Outsiders. We're not just getting that.
Right.
We're getting several new shows, and then we're getting some of the old content put on there too. Which now, if they just give me a price point, I can say if it's worth my buck or not.
Definitely. I love all the DC properties, and I know that's a lot of content, but it's for me, it still remains to be seen if it's enough to justify what they're going to charge for it. Because I mean, if you take everything that DC's ever made and put it on there, that's a lot of stuff, but it's still nowhere near as much as what you're going to have on a Netflix or something like that, where they have multiple studios and multiple backlogs of information.
But I think that's where the whole comment aspect comes in. If you can get comics on there, then now you have my attention.
Definitely.
But I think if I was in the boardroom, I'd be like, look, we're going to do this service. We're going to offer all this, but we're going to make it tiered. If you want lower tier, $6.50. Higher tier,
that's another thing too.
Before
it was incredibly difficult to compete with the price point of Netflix,
mm-hmm.
and here lately we see Netflix slowly creeping up. And at this point, I pay the package for 4 streams and 4K content for Netflix, and I think it's $15 or $16 a month. It's the same as getting HBO now. Before, it was an easy sell where
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get HBO Go or HBO Now. I get them confused which one's which, but I'm not going to pay for those because I can get all this content on Netflix for when I first started it was $7.99.
Yeah.
And now that's creeping up. So I'm curious, what price point would you look? What would attract you to that?
If they do a lower tier, $6.50, because I mean Hulu is at that $8.99. Like, right. There's a lot of anime services like Crunchyroll at that like $7.99, $8.99. Make a lower tier like $6.50 to really be competitive, to bring people in, limit the content. Let's just say, for those that want that Young Justice Outsiders, like that, people that have been petitioning for that. If you make it a low price point, get that and these animated shows. Let's just say Justice League Unlimited, Batman animated series, and then 3 of these movie franchises. Like don't broaden the scope too much, like the Superman movie franchise with Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, that would be great to see.
$6.50 for that.
Now, would it be a deal breaker if that was the price point, but there were commercials included, like Hulu?
That wouldn't be a deal breaker for me.
Because I know, I think with Hulu, it's like $7.99
mm-hmm.
For the ad version. The free version of Hulu is long gone.
Yeah.
And then I think what mine is the ad free, and I think that's $12 a month or something.
So if you give me $6.50 commercials, that's fine. Give me that. I'm cool. But I think the only way, if they don't do a tier program,
mm-hmm.
that's what I think they need to do, a tier program. Come in a little bit cheaper,
right,
and then get people to start going in more. I think where Netflix messed up, and they were smart for doing it, is that whole limited amount of streams.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they really get people at. People aren't really going for more content. They just want to be able to share with their friends.
Absolutely, and in all honesty, that's why just in my personal life, that's why I had Sling TV before,
mm-hmm.
Which gives you I think that's $20-some a month, and you get 1 stream. But then I found out, I tried out YouTube TV now that it's available here in Richmond, Virginia, and I ended up going with YouTube TV because it's only for $10 more. I get 6 streams, and so I can split it with the rest of my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what sold me on YouTube TV. So that's a big factor too that I hadn't considered.
I think if you do this now, I think because it's a fine line between balancing that whole how many streams versus how much content.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people want to get into this. And if you kind of control this, how many streams per person,
mm-hmm.
I think you can really DC Universe can really make something out of itself.
Right.
And it really depends on how they do comic content
Mm-hmm.
that they're supposedly going to do. If they make it so, you know, you get like the older 90s comics or even early 2000s, those are some good reads, and you're getting a lot of bang for your buck at like $6 or $7. So,
well, how do you think this is going to affect the CW shows? Do you think that they're going to be able to get the licensing and pull those onto their new platform? Or
they possibly can. AT&T owns it all now. Hold up. CW is actually 50%. 50% Time Warner and 50% CBS.
Okay.
So it really, I think they can get the DC content from there very easily. I don't think they can get anything else.
Right.
Because I mean, CW isn't just the superhero shows. You got Supernatural, you've got other strong content on there.
But I would argue that it's probably the best part about the CW.
It's the best part of it, yes.
Are the DC shows. So I unless there's something already written into the contracts on that, I would wonder if there's going to be a fight over that.
I don't even know, because I gotta look more into Supernatural, because even Supernatural might be completely owned by AT&T at this point, because Hanna-Barbera is somewhat part of that. I forgot how, but they did the crossover with Scooby-Doo, and that's when I found out there's some kind of connection with Hanna-Barbera and Supernatural. So more to come on that one. But as these streaming services come up, I mean, CW has their own streaming service that's not you don't have to pay for, which is great. But at the same time, it's just their content, and that's it.
Right. And now CBS has their own thing.
Yeah, and they've made it so you can't get that content anywhere else until like way after the season.
Right.
So they kind of put a foothold, because it used to be able to go on Hulu the day after.
Right. Yeah.
Now that's off. Now they have exclusive, but they have a deal with Netflix where they show it a couple weeks after.
Right. You have to wait. I think even I mentioned YouTube TV. I don't think YouTube TV does not have CW. Mm-hmm. That's one of the few ones that they never made a deal with or have yet to make a deal with.
I don't see with all these streams. I don't think they're gonna make a deal. I think it's gonna be. I think it's done. I think they're gonna focus on DC Universe, get that content on there, and if they tier it, they can get a lot. They can get a lot more bang for their buck.
And I agree. I think the biggest thing that DC's streaming service has going for it are the comics and the backlog that it has. Because, in all honesty, I think we're quickly approaching a saturation of the market for streaming services. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, this one might be $6, this one might be $12, but if I want, if you want HBO, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, I mean, that's a lot of money, and it quickly approaches what you'd just be paying for cable or more.
That's why I say 5 years. I give it 5. 5 years, 10 max. Cable's dead.
I would think so. Although there's, I think it won't resemble anything what it does now. You're still going to have the older generation that still wants their cable and everything, but I think they're going to have to evolve in some way. It's not going to be.
All you need to do is simplify how they watch it, and that's where the net neutrality really comes in. Because this merger was to prepare them for net neutrality. AT&T being one of the main people for data, if you get on top of it, now you can say, hey, no more, net neutrality doesn't exist anymore. Now you have to pay for it. But guess what? If you come to me, you get all this stuff under my umbrella for free.
Yeah. It's a huge issue. So
what you think is free.
Yeah. So if you don't understand net neutrality, read up on it, get educated on it, and take that education to the ballot box whenever the time rolls around, because it's going to be a mess. If you want a good example of it, look at Portugal. Portugal does not have any. They've never had net neutrality, I think. So you're looking at multiple tiers of internet service. If you don't pay enough for internet, you can't even get access to something like Netflix, and it's going to just destroy any startup that comes through, because nobody's going to have the money to pay to compete on the channels and have that extra bandwidth to use when you have something like a Disney or a Netflix, Universal, any of those. So stay informed on that.
All right. Now, we did get some set photos from one of DC Universe's newest shows, which is going to be Titans, a live action Titans. We've kind of seen some images that haven't been too favorable, but this right now the starting cast is Nightwing or Robin, which is Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
You will have Starfire, you will have Beast Boy, you will have Raven. There's rumors of Cyborg, Ray Fisher actually coming to the set for like a guest appearance, but nothing confirmed yet. Just rumors. I honestly doubt that's gonna happen. I think that's too much money.
I think it could happen, but that's going to be a big step for DC to. They would then be incorporating their television shows into the DC universe.
They'll find a way to say this is another universe. This is another. They'll find a way.
Yeah.
We've gotten confirmation that Wonder Girl will be on there. Donna Troy, Hawk and Dove. So these are people that have been on the Teen Titans before. A lot of people might not know it because they focused on the animated 2000 edition of Teen Titans where it was just those 5 core members, but there's been other members. And we've gotten set photos of Jason Todd.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is following the story of, Dick Grayson leaves Batman, quits or gets fired, but to become his own hero, and Jason Todd replaces him. So we do see some set photos of Jason Todd, and it looks pretty impressive. And we're also getting some set photos of possibly Superboy being a part on the team, but it's around the season finale. So it'll be more of a season 2 thing and not that much in the season 1. So more to come on that. I know that's one of the biggest, like the 2 biggest shows that's going to be on that DC stream service, DC Universe, is going to be Young Justice, Outsiders, and Titans. But I think with the characters being so similar,
mm-hmm.
you might get some confusion and it might get a little weird. Because you literally have almost the same characters to the T on Young Justice.
I could see that happening. Hopefully, since they're launching all of this at the same time, they're able to work that out and make it less confusing. I'm sure they've thought about that. But we'll have to wait. Like I said, I would assume we get plenty of information on that by the time SDCC rolls around.
Yep.
So.
Well, that should be one of their major. If DC Smart, that's one of their major focuses.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about Jeff Johns leaving and him producing Green Lantern. There are rumors right now that Green Lantern will not be focused on Hal Jordan.
Right. So
it will be focused on one of the 2 latest additions to the Green Lantern family. If you don't understand what I mean by Green Lantern family, there has been a total of 6, with a 7th coming out soon.
Right.
Well, there's been 6 Green Lanterns to hold that mantle, to hold the power ring. The last 2 in the edition are Simon Baz, a Middle Eastern Muslim who's come on to the team, and Jessica Cruz, which is she's a little different from the other ones because she has a phobia, and she is Latina. So, but she's very family focused. But the fact that she is scared is a little weird. She's scared of a lot of things. Which the whole thing about Green Lantern ring picking someone has always been someone that has no fear.
Right.
So she's the newest addition, and in the movie, the rumor is she will be the rookie that gets Hal Jordan's ring, and she will enlist Simon Baz, who is the more veteran Green Lantern, to go out and try to find what happened to Hal.
Right.
So I think that's an interesting story. It is supposed to be more like a space cop buddy movie.
Right.
So with those 2 types of characters, I think that does hold to be something interesting as an interesting dynamic.
Definitely. And also I like the fact that we don't always have to have an origin story for the original characters.
No.
It would be a refreshing take if we have to have some sort of origin story. Green Lantern is a unique situation since you have so many.
Black Panther did origin story the best, as they
I
did
could see that,
quick glimpse of what the history is, and then bam, we got into it.
Right. Yeah.
One flashback just to get you up to speed, and then boom. And they did the same. I didn't do the same with Spider-Man, but we had already seen Spider-Man.
Everybody knows the story. Yeah.
3 to 4 times already. So it's great to see that movies aren't relying on the origin as much. So if they can do the same with Green Lantern and make it more entertaining and focus on the character development and looking for like a quest to try to find out how Jordan go to a couple planets, go to a couple planet bars, some taverns, rough up some people. I would go and see that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Lethal Weapon meets Guardians of the Galaxy sort of mashup. I mean, that could be fun.
That sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
Mix up Guardian of the Galaxy and Lethal Weapon. That sounds amazing. I would go see that in a heartbeat.
Right.
So if we get something like that, great. But that's just a rumor. I don't want to start something that ain't out there, but that's just a rumor.
Somebody else already started it, so we will take responsibility for that.
But there is a casting call for young Jon Stewart going out right now too. Which originally I didn't think he was going to be part of the movie after I heard the Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz bit.
Right.
But they are casting. They're looking for African American male between 21 and 30. So if you're in that range, I'm about to turn 31, so I'm not in that range anymore, and I ain't got those acting chops. But they are looking for those. So for the people that have always been begging for, like Tyrese, Idris Alba, even Sterling Brown, they don't fit that mold.
But I think it makes sense, though, even though I love to see any of those actors take it over. I think from attracting the crowd and trying to bring in a whole new franchise, I think it makes sense. If they want everybody to be under the age of 30, because they're going to want this sort of thing.
They want longevity.
Going.
They want longevity. They want this to go for a couple of years. I mean, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing these comic book movies lock people down.
Right.
3-4 films off the rip, and it's hurt some people, and it's helped some people. I think Marvel has used it the best.
Right.
DC has not yet, except with Gal Gadot. I think because we're still on the fence about Ben Affleck. Like, Ben Affleck, I love Ben Affleck. We're still on the fence on if he's going to be in other movies.
Right. It's one of the most frustrating things about following DC speculation and all is this back and forth. Is he going to be? Who cares? Just wait. Yeah. Just wait and see if he's going to be in the new one. I personally hated the idea when they announced it. And then I saw him in Batman vs. Superman, and I know I mentioned this before, and a lot of people hate on the movie, but I really enjoyed it. I liked the gruffled, older Batman, and I think he fit the mold better than almost everybody who's played it before. Certainly better than
especially since they were going for a Frank Miller Dark Knight feel.
Yeah.
But that's our 2 cents on DC's casting choices. But more to come on that as we get to the Comic-Cons and so forth. I think that's when we'll start seeing a lot of poignant information coming out. So I really look forward to that, especially with Aquaman. I think that one can turn the tide a little bit. Well, okay, so Wonder Woman turned the tide from a money perspective. Like, say what you want about the movies, it's really it comes down to dollars sometimes.
Right.
So Batman vs. Superman, I like the movie, but money-wise, it did not do what they wanted it to do.
Right.
Justice League, I love Justice League. Money-wise, did not do what it was supposed to do. Wonder Woman, it did do what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. Now, I would argue that, a lot of, especially with Justice League, that had its own problems just because of everything that happened with Zack Snyder leaving the project, and this is one of those few cases where I totally understand that somebody leaves the project for everything that happened.
Yeah, that was a tough time for him and his family. And I definitely pray that he keep continuing to go through that. But
yeah, but I think that for me, I love one of the few things that I do as far as collecting is I collect superhero movies and comic books and everything too, but mainly the only movies that I go out and buy a physical copy of typically are superhero movies, and I have not gone out and made a point of buying Justice League just because I walked out of it going like I love the tone of Wonder Woman, I love the tone of Batman versus Superman and all of the previous DC movies, but I got into this and I walked in wanting a DC movie, and I left with basically a kind of we wanted to imitate Marvel as much as possible, and they lost me on that one.
So, but I think that wraps up. The only thing left we have is our debate battles.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Now, what we're going to do is same rules applies. This is a fight to the death. Morality is taken out. And then there is a keynote, cliff note to say what era that person is in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using all their powers in that era. And then we're going to be adding to our box of names every week. So if we don't pick someone out of the box the first week, we're going to keep those in there and we're going to keep adding on to it. So you'll get several different types of characters as the weeks go on. So we'll try to make sure it's never the same battle. All right? So, and we'll give each other, 5 minutes? 5 minute or a few second rebuttals to see who would win.
So, I have Nightwing.
Oh. And I have Spider-Ham. This should be interesting. Okay.
All right. So throw your best at me. What would Spider-Ham do to beat Nightwing?
Well, one, this is a anamorphic style pig that has the powers of a spider. In this universe, all the superheroes all the people are anamorphic, so they're animals that walk like people, which doesn't make it weird enough. Like, we're getting into furry territory here. You got Captain America. You've got.
I don't know if I could take any of this seriously.
You've got some weird characters, and Peter Porker.
The puns.
Was bitten by a radioactive spider, and he has the powers of the Spider-Ham.
See, all I can think of when you say that is Homer Simpson holding the pig to the ceiling and singing Spider Pig. I
just give that pig some one-liners, and you have Spider-Ham.
Right. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that even if Spider Pig has spider sense, I don't know if he's going to be able to get around the experience of a Nightwing.
All right, so Nightwing, Dick Grayson, which is arguably one of the best Robins out there. I think he's been listed as one of the better fighters.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty much Batman without being brooding. And he can fight almost as well as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And his acrobatic skills does help him to fight a little bit better than some of the Robins out there. But he doesn't have powers. Spider-Man has Spider-Ham has the powers of a spider, of a ham, has been bitten by a spider. Yeah, he still has web slinging. He still has super strength. He's small in stature, but all I need is one good uppercut, and we can see. I might be able to do some damage to Nightwing.
I personally think Nightwing would make Spider Pig into a Spider Ham, into a good barbecue. I don't really see. I don't know. That's actually a fight that I would like to see animated full on, and just see what Disney or what DC would do in that sort of situation. I don't know.
Well, my heart would say that DC would never let Nightwing lose to a pig. But I don't know. I think Spider-Ham can give you a run for his money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though Nightwing, I give Nightwing credit. He's faced a lot of super-powered villains, and has been able to stand toe to toe with them.
Yep.
But he's never fought something this bizarre.
I don't know.
I think because Nightwing is the one that is the most lighthearted, he would laugh himself to death.
That's possible. Maybe we'll just have to wait and see in some sort of weird fever dream that you have sometime soon, who actually wins that battle. I don't know.
But that's it. That's our time. Tell us what you think. Who would you win versus Spider-Ham and Nightwing? Put down the comments down below. Tweet us the answers. Check out our Facebook, tweet, Instagram. We'll be doing this every week, our weekly podcast. So you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and on on SoundCloud. So check us out. Join the discussion. And other than that, have a great day, y'all. Geek Philosophy, the Geek Way of Thinking. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for stopping by Geek Philosophy. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, put your philosophies in the comments, and also hit that subscribe button so you can be notified of all future videos. Thanks for stopping by Geek Philosophy, the Geek Way of Thinking.